Welcome to Curious Joel, a show about curiosity taking us deeper into the topics of people's passion and interesting conversation. Today's actually going to be part 2 of a funny conversation about serious depression with Jackie Bender and Rose Circo. We weren't able to finish everything up right there, so if you haven't listened to part 1, right now would be a great time to go back, listen to the last episode, and then come back and listen for part 2. Now that you're back, here's part 2 of a funny conversation about serious depression.
Oh.
You got anything, Rose?
So I had just jotted down a couple of questions that I feel when I mean, these are just generally good questions to ask people, but
Sure.
I feel like when you're talking to someone who you know or think might be struggling with depression, like, do you want to talk right now? Or maybe later? Or do you just want me to listen right now? Because I'm one of those people, I like to offer solutions. Jackie knows as well. Joel knows as well. I like to offer the solution because I want to help you and I want to make it all better and make it go away. But I do know that that's not always actually helpful, which is frustrating to me because I want everybody to be happy, which, that I know that's not a reality.
Yeah.
And then this is a question I haven't been super great about yet, but when people are talking to me about their problems, whatever their problems are, it doesn't really have to be depression specifically, but would you like suggestions or helpful tips? Because that gives the opportunity to say, no, I just want you to listen. Or, yeah, actually, that might be nice.
Yeah, and I think the difficult part for me, at least, is that there's some times where real life solutions can help.
Yeah.
Because we haven't touched on it again, but the stress side of things, stress can induce that bout or season with depression or
cycle.
Thank you. I was like, we use too many words actually.
Only 3 really, but yeah.
Too many.
Yeah.
But it can bring on those things. And so sometimes having a solution to figure out that stressful situation can actually help.
Yeah.
Other times what I call it venting. Sometimes I just need to off gas that stress and frustration and whatever else is going on, and that can be the most helpful.
Yeah.
So and so I think asking that question, and I try to also be more purposeful. This is personal mindfulness of I'll talk to people hey, can I vent to you for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, can we talk?
Yeah.
And I try and be mindful of those words of I need some help.
Yeah.
Versus I need to vent. If I'm venting, I don't want to hear, well, if you just, talk to them, it's I don't care. I don't care. But if I want to talk, and I that's usually more of an open thing of if you want to give me advice, I'll take it.
Yeah, if the advice is presented as a question, do you want my advice?
Yeah.
Then that's good, because then I have the opportunity to be well, maybe at a different day, not today.
Right.
I don't mind you telling me your advice, but I'm not going to be receptive to it today.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe present it as a question, or read how they're responding. Like Joel is saying, are they venting to you?
Right.
Do they seem like they want help? Because it might just be they just want someone to sit with them.
Yeah. Well, and that's the next question is, can we just sit together? Is that okay?
Can I make it a small addition to that? And this is something that took me way too long to realize myself, is if you're trying to give them solutions and they have excuses for every single solution you throw at them,
they don't actually want.
They don't want a solution right then.
Yeah.
Whether they think they do or not. And this is something I used to do for ages. Like, people would give me a solution, and I'm like, well, this is why it wouldn't work. This is why it wouldn't work. This is why it's like, well, those are good solutions, but that's not what I needed. I thought I wanted solutions. I needed to vent. Yeah, so I would put that as an amendment. If they're not taking your advice, maybe either stop and ask, like, are you sure you want this? Or do you just want to talk?
Yeah. Well, and even with that, like you were just saying, you didn't even know that you didn't want the solution. Right.
Yeah.
So
you can even ease off on the answers,
And that's why I said I'm not super great at that part right now of like asking if you guys actually want my advice or solutions or suggestions. But I generally feel like I take it well when you're like, I don't want to hear that right now.
And I think the other side of that is like, even if though I am getting more conscientious about what I need, that doesn't mean I'm any better at helping when December either needs to vent or is asking for solutions. Like that doesn't make me, unfortunately for her, any better at going, oh, you just need to listen. Like, you just need me to listen.
Yeah.
But to answer your other question, like, sometimes just sitting is very helpful.
Yeah, I think people downplay that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that one's really important because I think we say too much a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do and impact people way more just by being there and showing up.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big love language right there. Like,
being there.
Yeah. To go back to what you were saying about being a burden for other people, though.
Okay.
I think the trouble I have with it is I don't know who my safe people are all the time.
Gotcha.
And so if I don't know if we're 100% on that, like, you're my safe person, I love you, I know you love me, I'm not going to feel comfortable, like, doing that, if that makes sense.
No, I get that, yeah. I had a thought.
You did have a thought. Can we sit together was the last question we were talking about.
Hugs.
And
this gets into a weird thing of like, if you know you're good at hugs, offer hugs.
All right, fine. You want to hug, Joel?
I've been told I'm good at hugs too.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I know that I am good at hugs, and so when people are struggling with stuff, I offer those hugs, and it means a lot when my friends that are good at hugs go, Joel, you look like you need a hug.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes I'm like, no, and they're like, no, Joel, you need a hug, and I'm like, fine, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did need a hug. Yeah. It's almost like those Snickers commercials of like, you turn into a different person after you get hugged.
Yeah, and I feel like there's scientific proof that hugging someone for like 5 seconds or more,
like
a solid hug,
like a real hug, not the dainty side hug thing.
Like, that's not a hug. That's like a
pat or
like,
anything.
No,
not the
like,
bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, like a legitimate
like squeeze,
bear hug kind of squeeze deal, actually for 5 seconds or more.
Do you know why the time is important?
The time is
like how long the hug is,
so that you can register that they actually care.
Because you can smell their pheromones that long.
Pheromones are part of it, but that's only if they're in a good state of mind. The other one is actually the heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
So when you're when you're stressed out, your heartbeat goes up.
That makes sense.
So when I hug somebody, I know I can change my heartbeat to some extent.
That's creepy.
It is. I'm not going to get into that right now. But like,
sweet.
I can
what
have
do you do? Take it out of your chest?
I said that's not going to do it. But like, I can have a calming presence when I hug people. And when you hug somebody for a certain amount of time, their heart registers your heartbeat. And like, it's comforting. Like, the heart registers and can kind of match your heartbeat.
Ooh,
it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Let's hug.
Okay. Not right this second, but that'd be really awkward audio.
We're hugging right now.
We can do a group hug afterwards.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Yeah. So, sorry, I don't know.
What are they all visualizing?
I'm just picturing some of the best huggers giving me hugs, and like how I can just sink into their hugs, and it's so relaxing, and even if I'm feeling anxious or uptight or whatever, like just relaxing into those hugs is just so.
I was picturing when we went to Ruth's wedding and we got an Airbnb and me and my friend shared a bed, and then all the other girls decided to lay on top of us.
This is a giant dog pile.
It was a giant bear hug pile.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
it was fantastic.
It was.
That sounds pretty fantastic, actually. Just like that much love just being poured out. Just
yeah,
like,
I wasn't sure how to breathe properly.
yeah, that's not important
Yeah.
when you're getting
Like,
that much love.
Freya, I love you. I love you too, Rose. And my hand's like trying to reach her.
like tickling my shoulder or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was all in there? Rose, you,
Heavy.
Freya.
Yep.
There was another there were other
No.
people. No?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think so.
Well, I'm imagining another person.
Maybe you're imagining Ruth.
That's just how many,
'Cause
how
Ruth
much
would have
love was
joined
in that
it.
room.
She did?
She would have joined it. if she
Oh,
was
maybe
there.
that's what it is. I'm just visualizing Ruth there.
Yeah. To answer the question, yes. Sitting, like, sometimes I even ask, like, just, I want physical contact even with, like, sitting. So, like, that doesn't need to be, like, in the lap or anything, but that could be, like, just, like resting the
elbow
head,
touching or
elbow,
something.
like,
Yeah.
maybe, like, my feet are, like, on your lap or something like that. Like,
You.
not, don't make it weird. But like I mean, like it doesn't need to be a
Just
lot
having that
necessarily, but like
contact.
sometimes
Yeah.
just a little bit of contact goes a long way too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I can speak as a lady. Like when one of my guy friends hug me, for some reason, it means way more than when a girl hugs me. And I'm not trying to say that in a mean way.
No,
It feels like my older brothers are like looking out for me.
I think that part of that is because guys don't typically hug as often, like
Yeah.
meaningful, real hugs as women, and so
Yeah.
because it's a lesser, it's not
Yeah.
It's
not a
Rarer.
common commodity. When
No.
it's given, it means more.
It does.
Yeah.
It means a lot more. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, like you do love me? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But I mean, that's also one of the reasons why I offer hugs so much, just because like.
Yeah.
I know that people don't often get like comforting male hugs very often,
Yeah.
and it does mean more.
They always give the side pat, and I hate the side pat.
Or it's always that like really quick like clap on the back, like
Yeah.
It's
They're
like, was that
super-
even a hug?
it's like, right, but it's like what was that?
I was like, I want a real hug.
Right.
Yeah. So I know we've been talking for a long time already, but
It's like 2 hours.
I know. But there are a couple of questions that you guys both looked at earlier that I had written down, and I just wanted to share them of questions for those who are dealing with depression. And one of them, we had talked about this a little bit, of like actually genuinely asking, how have you been? How
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, does that sound like a good question for you guys? Like, is that something you want people to?
I think the problem with that question, though, is it's so flippant.
Well, that's why I added the genuine part.
So,
Of, like,
So for me, like whenever I tell people like I'm asking for that, usually I'm like, I try and phrase it how I almost want them to phrase it, like, how are you doing?
or even
And like waiting for that response, like not like a hey, how you doing? And like my boss is actually pretty fantastic about this because like again, lots of stress in the last couple weeks for me that led to this particular bout of depression. But like there's a few times where he was like, how are things?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm supervising a bunch of stuff and I start spouting off different things that have happened. And he's like, how are you doing? And then separate text, emphasis on you, all bold, like caps, like you doing. And I'm like,
Yeah, not how are your things doing, or
great question. And I like took like 10 minutes and like, how am I doing? I don't know. I haven't checked in with myself in a while. Like it makes me think about it and go, well, honestly, I'm
Yeah.
exhausted. I'm like, and I gave an honest answer
Yeah.
because he took that extra effort to make sure that, because the difficult thing is when you're dealing with the depression, you automatically assume nobody cares. Like, typically, at least from my experience and everyone I've talked to, it's like, you assume that everyone doesn't care.
And then I feel like that gets perceived as us being selfish.
Sure.
And then it's like, but if we truly believe no one cares, then why would we, like, seek out,
Right. But
That
that's
makes
where
sense.
I think the intentionality of the question asker, because this is to help them.
Tone.
Like,
tone matters a
like-
lot.
Yeah, tone.
Like, the difference is like, hey, how you doing? Like, hey, how are you doing?
And then also waiting
Right.
for the true answer.
Right. Because
Yeah.
that's the other thing, like I said, like, even with, like, offers of hug, I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, if I give, like, if you ask, like, hey, how are you actually doing? And I'm like, I'm okay. It's like, no, like,
Really?
how are you doing? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Going like, well, and like wait for that and be intentional. Don't like, this is again a delicate balance of like, don't like push too hard, but
Right.
don't like walk away after a quick like, it's fine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I picture it. Is like when I really want to know how somebody is doing, I'll like have that eye contact and like make sure that they understand. I really want to know. Like I'm not just, hey, how you doing? Walk away. Like
Right.
it's how are you? Like, tell me like what's been going on.
I literally just right now realized I do this with other people because I realize it would make a difference for me. Is when I'm worried about somebody, I actually like, hey, like pull them aside gently and be like, how are you doing? Like makes it, because I realize I do this for a reason. Of like when I have people that I'm supervising, I'll like, hey, Billy Bob, like pull them further away from people just so
Right.
they realize this is me and you.
Yeah.
This isn't everything else. This is me and you, and going like, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
How are you doing? I know that stuff happened. Like, how is that going?
Yeah.
Then they start realizing like, this isn't a time to respond with, oh, everything's great. I'm fine. Everything's okay. Like those top of the mind answers. They're like, well, my dog died and it's a lot right now. Like that's when you get the real answers, when you like put that extra effort in. And it's like, I think based off of what my brain does with other people, I probably subconsciously know that would actually mean more to me too as well.
Yeah.
That was a lot of twos and no's as well as
That's
stuff.
okay.
Anyway.
All right, so that's a decent question for people to ask with true intention of hearing the answer, like not just an I'm fine answer.
Yeah.
Another question is like, how's your stress been lately? How's your stress levels doing? Which Joel, you're not allowed to answer this one.
I thought you were asking. I was like, wow, thanks for asking.
Oh.
It's like, it's actually been really
Perfect.
rough. And I'm like, no, these are...
Yeah.
To
Okay.
answer your question that you're going to ask later, it's a great question.
Okay, perfect. What a goofball. Well, audience, now you know. That's a great question to ask Joel anytime. How's your stress level doing?
How's our stress level doing?
Yeah, like, is that a decent question? Like, not like the first question necessarily, but maybe a follow-up to how are you doing? Like, oh, how's your stress level?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's a good question to ask, not just people who are depressed, but just in general.
Sure.
But yeah, I think stress does play a lot into mental health and a lot of other physical health ailments.
Right.
And we haven't really even talked about stress, but
Oh, I know. That's a whole other...
We talked about this before. Like, we could make a whole episode
series.
about, like, just like, we could also do a series of just like what stress does to people.
yeah, like, and if you're not managing your stress, it's gonna get worse. And
Mhm.
like, I guess that's a question for you. Like, how do you manage your stress?
Not great. Not great.
It's a work in progress, right?
What do you?
Sure.
Do you have anything you do?
So I have things that I try and do.
Okay.
But doing them regularly again is difficult with ADHD. Like trying to balance doing actual like adult things like dishes
Adult
and laundry and like stuff like that, and then doing things that actually help my stress levels go down, like playing video games and like playing D&D and just wandering the town at night, like stuff that like helps me de-stress.
You vampire, you.
Yes.
You know, Joel wandering a mountain town at night is actually kind of creepy sounding.
You know what's really funny?
Because...
Just really quick anecdote. There's an anecdote.
Sure.
There's one night I was walking at like.
Did you find
1
a
in the
serial
morning.
killer or something?
No.
Okay.
But I like walked. I was walking up and I see this guy. I'm like, this is like a scary guy to see at night. Like he's like, I'm like, I'm gonna get mugged or something. Like he's just gonna run after me. So like I was trying to be careful and like walk around him, and then like he turned and like, oh my gosh. Oh, dude, you scared me. Man, I thought you were going to murder. Like, I thought I was dead. I'm like internally going like, no. You were going to kill me. Sorry. You scared me. Not me scared. I'm the scary one in this situation. And I just like, sorry, bro. I just like walked away because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this interaction. It was so weird because I'm like, I was the scared one. Why are you scared of me?
Were you guys like walking down like a dark alley or something?
No, he was standing on the corner. Like I don't know what he was doing exactly. He might have just been chilling for a minute, trying to figure out what his next move was, like walking. But like I was just kind of like trying to avoid him, and like I apparently scared him and startled him when I came into view, and like apparently he thought I was out to get people.
Oh my
god!
gosh.
I'm like, okay. It was just really funny. But like I find midnight relaxing because kind of going back to what you're talking about, like about pressure, there's no pressure in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
No one has expectations. You don't have to be anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
No one's like, you haven't taken your break yet, or like, wow, is this done yet? It's nothing.
Yeah.
No, and there's no stupid people walking around to stress you out. Like, it's just you and nature.
Just you and nature
and that random guy on the corner.
Well, there's that, yeah. But like, so like walking at night is something that helps me. Playing video games of all sorts helps. D&D is really relaxing for me, or stress relieving, not necessarily relaxing. It's exciting and stress relieving. But like, there's a few other things that I can do to like help. Sometimes art, but like trying to find the time to put that in. That's not also on the back end adding to stress of I still haven't done dishes.
Right.
I still haven't folded laundry. Like those things on the back end of like trying to make sure things are adult responsibilities, stressful responsibilities are taken care of.
Yeah.
Adding to the stress before taking them off, or trying to figure out like, okay, I just need to reduce my stress now so that I can take on stress later. Like that's difficult to manage.
Right.
So that's why I was like, not well.
What are some of your stress management
Sleep.
things?
I love sleep.
Yeah.
And when I am doing well with it, exercise does actually help when I'm consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, being outside really helps. And when I can make time for like the hobbies and things I like to do, that also helps. Like reading, playing my violin, spending time with friends, watching my TV shows or movies I like.
Yeah.
Or like tonight making like a yummy dinner. I like to cook, so that's also kind of like stress relief.
You're good at it. If the dinner you made tonight was any indication.
Thank you.
It's not just throwing foods together and like, ta-da, I cooked. It's like, oh, pickle and tuna.
Okay.
Never mind. I'm just going to stop now. I didn't
That
have
is not
anything
what
to
we
do.
eat for dinner.
No, it was a really good pasta dish.
Okay, so
Anyway.
Speaking of eating and sleeping, that's actually the next question, is like a question posed to you guys of, have you been eating and sleeping? And do you notice that those two things, obviously Jackie, you said sleeping helps you, so like, do you notice that those two things help you be more regulated with your depression, or help you get out of your depression faster, or anything like that? I mean, I feel like depression is there is no specific time length for your depression cycles, or bouts or whatever.
We've
But-
used all the terms.
But like, do you feel like, or does it seem like those things help you? Eating and sleeping.
Just those two, eating and sleeping?
Yep, I mean,
Oh, okay.
exercise I feel like is a very common one as well, of like being regular with some form of exercise, but this was just the question that I was given. So, well, I found.
Yeah, I feel like food and sleep are very beneficial, not just with depression, but like all forms of sicknesses and stuff. So it shouldn't be any different with like a mental ailment as well. But I have noticed when I am anxious or depressed, because I also kind of struggle with anxiety,
Mhm.
I have a hard time either falling asleep or I wake up in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have been trying to get better at it if I wake up in the middle of the night to, because generally what I do is I just kind of like lay in bed and hope I fall asleep.
Mhm.
So I've been trying to get better about like, okay, I'm gonna lay in bed for 20 minutes, and if I don't fall asleep in 20 minutes, I'm gonna like read a book, and that'll put me back to sleep.
Right.
So that has helped.
It's kind of interesting because for me, when depression like hits its hardest, usually I oversleep. Like that's how it was first realized. Was like, I just Rose is nodding emphatically, but like I would just like sleep. I didn't want to go outside anymore. I just wanted to be in my bed all day. Like
I want to be in my bed for sure, but I
Well-
can't actually sleep, if that makes sense.
oh, I mean, for me it varied whether I was asleep or just in bed.
Oh, okay.
Like, but
Got
like
it.
I would be in bed for most of the day, and then I'd get up at the end and like do my chores around the house, and then I'd go back to bed.
Yeah.
Like it was mostly bed,
Yeah.
even if I'm
It's the dishwasher. Sorry,
weird noises. But like, yeah, it was my parents finally like, okay, he needs to go see a doctor, and they're like, oh, he lays in bed all day. Does he go outside very much? No. Like a few other questions, and did a couple tests, and like, yeah, it's depression, like chemical imbalance, like.
Yeah.
But like so, but a moderate amount of sleep can help. Like there's times where like, I
Yeah.
don't get enough rest to like let my body start working on fixing the imbalance, and the rest can help.
So would a better question, because it sounds like both of you have like some issues with sleep. So would a better question be like, have you been eating and sleeping well?
Mm.
Or
I think
Like-
I would probably phrase the question like if someone were asked me, I would be able to answer better like how has sleep been.
Yeah.
how has your sleep been?
Yeah, something to
Yeah.
that extent, because
Oh,
like I like in the last couple months the best sleep I have had was 5 hours, but it was right after a really good game of D&D. I let out all my stress and I slept really nicely for 5 hours. It wasn't
Yeah.
a lot, but it was good.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I've had times where I've slept for 9 hours and I feel terrible when I wake up.
Yeah.
Like it should have been good solid rest, but it wasn't.
Right.
And so like the quantity is not as good as important as the quality.
Right.
And even sometimes like, okay, I had a decent 5 hours versus I had a bad 5 hours
Mhm.
Yeah.
or a really good 5 hours. Like
Right.
sadly 5 hours is closer to what I get right now. That's why I'm using that. But like that can be closer to that question of like how good was the sleep, how
Yeah.
effective, like how restful.
And like if you've been actually getting up in the morning, because I feel like we talked about that, like
That
just wanting
struggle
to.
in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, just are you laying in bed for hours? Because I fall
Right.
victim to that a lot of like, well, I set my alarm for 6:30, but I'm laying in bed still, and it's 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I am lucky that I haven't had to deal with that struggle, succumbing to that struggle, because I have a wife that'll literally kick me out of like use her legs to kick me out of bed to get me to work.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have her in my life,
Yeah.
physically kicking me out of bed, there'd definitely be times that morning is just
It's rough.
it's killer. It's
yeah.
Did I almost get fired today? Yes. Did I almost just not show up?
Yeah.
But so I fortunately have a physical assistance, not just laying in bed.
Yeah.
And
But-
not everybody has that.
No. But like that's what I'm saying. Like being honest, like if I didn't have December kicking me out of bed, there'd be definitely days that I'd be like getting calls from my bosses going,
Where are you?
"Hey, you gonna show up today?" It's like eventually, maybe, probably not actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like asking those types of questions, like how did you sleep? Like how was the morning? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Both
Yeah.
helps us know that you are actually like those. I would say in general, those deeper questions, those real questions,
Sure.
show that you're caring more. But also the those questions we talked about like with sleep kind of help give you an indication of like how difficult is it?
Yeah.
Like those is it one of those days like you want me to stand?
Yeah.
I'm sitting.
Yeah.
And it's like for most people, it's like, okay, yeah, sitting's nice. It's like
Yeah.
great. And like it can be difficult, but like there's some days like I'll sit here and do math, which for me is probably the worst subject on the planet, personally. Like I'd rather sit here and do math than you ask me to stand up.
Yeah.
Like it's easier to sit here and do math than try and stand up. But
Yeah.
like that can help you as a friend gauge kind of how they're dealing with things.
I think you need to know the person
Well,
though.
yes.
Because, like you've already noticed, like for Joel, his food is way different than what I think
Right.
would be helpful for me.
Right.
So if you were to ask him, like, what have you been eating, and he tells you like a bag of potato chips or something, but to him that's his comfort food and that helps him.
Mhm.
But for me, that would be an indicator for you of like,
Yeah. Like, oh,
yeah,
that's not so great.
that's not
Yeah.
so great. Like Jackie's not doing so well.
Yeah.
Right.
She ate a whole bag of potato chips.
Right.
So maybe, and I've rephrased the questions a little bit. So like, how has your sleep been, or how difficult has it been? Like
Sure.
those,
Yeah.
and then like, how has your diet been?
Sure.
And that's more indicative of individuality.
Sure,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh, for me, like it's actually been okay. Like I've been eating the things that I think I need to eat, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, food. Ugh.
Yeah, and like I think like I said, the bigger part of that is like getting to know the person,
Right.
like what do they need, because like we talked about the difference between extrovert and introvert. Like
Yep.
Yeah.
I need more social interaction to get me out of that.
Yeah.
Jackie needs a little less interaction to get her out of that.
I feel
Like
it.
for me, it goes between, sometimes it does mean eating healthier foods, sometimes it means eating junkier foods.
Yeah.
But like I need different things that Jackie does, and that's going to be
That's
different
fine.
from like every other person. But
Yeah.
like getting to know your friends and or family members or whoever it is that struggles with this stuff, like what do they need? And like I know for me, if I have friends asking me questions about how my depression works, I'm going to answer those questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, awesome, let me explain it to you. I'll go into details. You ask me like, what does relaxing look like when you're depressed? Like what does your day, like I will answer all those questions, and like getting to know them and what
Sure.
even what they call their depression cycles or seasons or bouts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like each one of those things like helps you understand. So like if someone comes up like, how's this bout going? I'm like, I'm not winning right now. And that's for me why I call it that. Like it's for me it's a fight. It's something that like
Yeah.
I have to put effort into, without otherwise I'm not going to be doing great. Like for me, that's how I phrase it, because that's what I need to frame it as.
Right.
And like if someone comes up and asks me in my phrase, my phrase, I know that they care.
Right.
Yeah.
And learning those things helps me understand like they want to know more, lets me open up a little bit more to them as I ask more questions.
Yeah. 100%.
The last three questions, I'm not like 100% like, I feel like they could be better. So
Okay.
I'm just going to give you all three of them,
Sure.
and you can tell me you hate them or love them or whatever. But the first one is there anything you want to talk about? Which I feel like is almost too open-ended,
Mm-hmm.
whereas you might decide not to talk about anything at all.
Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, is there anything you want to talk about is how the question is phrased.
I'm trying to picture a scenario for this question. Like, you can tell someone is depressed or something.
Yeah, these are questions supposedly good for asking people who are dealing with depression.
Yeah, but like, okay, so picture it. We're at the office.
Yeah.
And
I notice you're just a little off. Like, is there anything you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of how I was like
so
picturing this going.
I think
like I know the intention behind it.
Sure.
Deeper, like
yeah.
Like
okay, there's a scenario I could see this being a good question, and this is tentative at best.
You like that we just did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like tentative at best is those moments like, do you want to just sit? Like, hey, can you come over and just sit with me? And then like, it's been quiet and be like, hey, is there anything you want to talk about? Or you just want to like, but like that's very tentative on like gauging the situation and stuff like that.
I feel like it needs to be a little bit more specific. Like, hey,
Sure.
I noticed like you seem a little off today. Are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about?
I think that's why I like that first question that I gave you guys better of like, do you want to talk right now?
Yeah, I think that's
a better question.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So we'll just ixnay that one. Fair enough. Like when I read it, I was like, I'm gonna put it on here and see what they say. Okay. So the second one, what can I do for you? I feel like it's very passive.
What can I do for you?
What I've actually told people before is there any way that I can help or anything I can do to help?
I like those
because
better.
sometimes.
Wait.
So, okay,
rephrase.
Sorry. Sorry, this is already an eternity to go in my brain.
To help or okay, is there anything I can do to help?
Or is there any way I can help in this situation or something like that?
I forget. It was a long time ago.
Darn. I tried listening faster, but it didn't stick.
We're going to have to rewind.
That's okay. We need it from the recording. That's okay. All right.
But that puts it in a frame, and the other part that is that's kind of rough is it has to be again genuine and willing to respond to that. Because if I say like, actually, could you go get me like a Gatorade?
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, well,
that's not what I was thinking of.
Right. It's like you have to be willing for the response and be like I mean, and not trying to like put a financial burden on you by like, well, if they ask for something, you have to go buy it for them. But like, well, I can't do that. But is there anything else I can do? Yeah. I can drive you. I can get you there, or like I can ask somebody like seeing if there's anything else that like follow up questions like I can't currently help with that specific thing, and like it could be like, hey, can I have a hug? And like you don't feel comfortable hugging that person. That's fine.
Yeah.
Ask them if there's follow up with, is there something else that I can do instead?
Yeah.
Because that's not something I can help with. You know, I've had friends that like I'm like, man, what I wouldn't do for a chocolate shake right now, and they're like, cool. They go grab it. That's great. Yeah. Sometimes like, that's nice. Yeah. What else? Like I'll settle for a hug. It's like, okay, I can do that right now. Like,
and I think it all goes back to knowing the person,
right?
Because like for you, I feel like if Rose offered to like come up and hang out with you would mean a lot.
Yeah.
And just like plain whatever.
Hint. No, I'm joking.
I rolled my eyes at him.
Joking.
Yeah, but like I think that the needs would be different depending on the people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I still think like even with knowing, and when you know somebody better, you can like ask more specific questions. So, like I have a friend that asked like, "Hey, do you want to play some Smash Brothers?" It's like he knows that helps.
Yeah,
but he also knows that if I say no, it's nothing against him or anything like that. Yeah. But that general question can get you to that point of knowing like what helps and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rephrased questions that I have is like, is there anything I can do to help, or can I help you right now, or is there
like what can I do to help, or but like being more specific versus just like
generic. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And then the last question I have for you guys, and I don't know how I feel about it, but you guys can tell me if you like it or not. When is the best time to check on you again? Because I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on you guys, especially after
I don't think I would ask that question. I think I would just do it. Just check on them
here's
again.
the other thing is, again,
like depending on the
I
person,
expect
too.
people not to care. So if you ask me, let's do what you did with Jackie, ask me that question.
Yeah. When is the best time to check on you again?
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I'll be okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
We don't want to burden you.
Right.
We also probably don't think you actually care for the most part.
You don't think I'll actually check back on you.
And also, like,
at the scheduled time.
as far as I want you to concern, I'm going to be better tomorrow. Whether I think so myself or not, I don't want you worrying about me anymore.
So if you really want to check on them, just check on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is putting a lot of unnecessary things out there, expecting a lot from the person who is
dealing with so much already on their mind.
Like for me, I don't typically care about myself even when I'm dealing with my depression.
Yeah.
So telling somebody to, hey, can you come, like, can I have like a 3:00 checkup? And then like, it's like, no, I don't care about myself that much to actually give you
just
specific.
check on me whenever you feel
like check on when you think of me, ask me. Like that's what, like, and again, it's one of the things that's a little, I feel like, burdening of other people, but like that's like, if you're trying to care for your person, your person, your person, it's just checking on them because they're not going to be caring. It's if you're taking on that responsibility, it's your job. Like like I have friends that like would ask like December does this now. Like, did you eat today?
Yeah.
No, I just don't know. Joel, you're eating. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not going to care about myself. I'm not going to put in that effort towards myself. And so having a friend that like takes that initiative to make sure I'm caring for myself is what I need.
Yeah.
And trying to like burden me with also trying to burden you with trying to care for me.
Right.
Is like 3 times in my brain. It's like 3 times burdening you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm fine. I'm okay. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be better tomorrow. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's all the questions that I have written down.
Okay.
Are there any other things? I know we've been going at this for a long time, but like, is there something burdening on your mind? Like, I really wish people knew this one thing so that I didn't have to answer this one question all the time, or that we haven't already discussed.
I would say, because I've talked about most of like the annoying questions and suggestions, I think the more important thing is genuine kindness.
Yeah.
Like, you can read all the therapy books you want, but a friend coming up and just like giving me a meaningful hug and like, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
That goes a lot further than like
trying to
have
fix
you tried to be happy?
Right, like trying to fix me, trying to do anything, just being kind to me and not out of pity or anything like that. Like just knowing that I need a little extra kindness and a little extra grace.
Mm.
Like that goes so much further than any remedy, any like action even. Like I would rather someone ask me how I'm, like every single one of my friends ask me how I'm doing than like, hey, can I buy you anything? Can I get you like like those things are nice and those things are helpful and like I really do like those, but like if I only could choose one thing for everybody to do to me, it's just a little extra kindness, a little extra love, and a little extra grace.
Yeah, that's the magic potion right there.
Right.
Because like it does a lot of times. I know that it always has good intentions, but people do want to fix you.
Right.
They'll give you all the books. They'll give you what worked for them.
Yeah.
They'll recommend X therapist or doctor.
Right.
And it's like, that's nice. Like, thank you. And I know that they mean well. They're not trying to be like whatever the word is.
I've gotten some helpful things. Like I take a supplement now called Happy Camper because someone recommended it to me. Because they deal with it and it's helped them. And it's like, that's great.
It is
and that
great.
does help.
Yeah.
But what meant more was when they came up to me before that and was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the fact you talked about this, like that genuine kindness and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
that meant more to me than the supplement that I take every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does mean a lot more when people don't view you as broken, or does it come off as they view you as you're broken?
No
Yeah.
matter how much times I say I'm broken,
Because
don't succumb to that.
it doesn't help battle the lies that you believe in yourself when
Yep.
people are constantly trying to like give you a solution or an answer to the problem that you're constantly battling in your mind.
Yeah.
So if they're just like loving on you, that is what will help fix it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, that for me, at the end of it all, just to give you guys a peek behind the curtain, is like I have to. So why I call them bouts? Because I have to win it.
Yeah.
Like you can support me, you can lift me up, you can sit me back up, you can give me smelling salts, you can do whatever, but I have to land that final blow.
Yeah.
If I don't land that final blow, it's not over. And so that love, genuine kindness, and a little extra grace while I'm dealing with this, of like he's having a boxing match. Like, sorry, he can't give you a really quick, concise answer right this second.
Yeah.
Just like that. Like, don't worry about it. I think I got the gist of it. You're good. Goes a long way to like helping me with that fight.
Does your ADHD also impact like not being able to give concise answers?
Gosh, yes.
Okay.
That's why Rose is getting so frustrated when I was trying to tell her my story today, as I'm like stopped for like 4 minutes, got back to it,
It
forgot
was
where
like
I
a
was.
5-minute story, but it took like 20 minutes to tell.
I was
No.
wondering why it took so long. And
Yeah.
you didn't
So-
take that long when you told me.
No,
Yeah.
it was because it was the added stress, the multiple things that I had to accomplish before actually recording.
Oh, okay.
So the stress, the ADHD of multiple focus lines trying to converge and trying to get one task done, and this other line not being conductive to that, but also I couldn't move on past it without
Okay.
finishing it,
Yeah.
led to a very long story that could have been like
Like,
I was
minutes.
trying so hard not to be frustrated.
I could tell you were, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So.
I was like, please get to the point.
Yeah,
Please.
like, but the ADHD, like I've seen some of it, like there's so many illustrations you can look up ADHD trying to tell a story and you'll see like a billion memes and they're
Okay.
almost all accurate.
Yeah.
Like you will see all the different railroads that I get off on to get to the same point that normal people would have taken 2 seconds. But the depression on top of that also means that like my motivation and energy to continue the story
It's
and
really
get back
low.
on track is also low.
Yeah.
So it doubles
I
down.
ask because my seizure meds give me a lot of brain fog. So it's hard for me to think a lot of the time and also process what other people are asking me sometimes. And so like I'll know what they asked, but then like verbalizing my answer is really difficult sometimes. And I thought I was going crazy throughout most of my life until I met my friend Dee, who was in Ireland, and she was on the same medication that I was on, and she had epilepsy throughout like all her adult life. And she's like, "Oh, that happens to you? I thought I was like going crazy." And she struggled with like answering people and actually talking to them because like it felt like there was a disconnect between her brain and her mouth.
Sure.
And so, like, I think that also kind of plays into my depression because it's like, it kind of affects my, like, self-worth view, I think. So.
And also, I would imagine it also has an effect on, like, how well you feel like you connect with other people.
Yeah.
Because if you're not speaking, I mean, that for me, ADHD is on the other side of that, of, like, ADHD is hyper, like there's too much noise in my head versus like dampened noise. And so it's like, wait, what did you ask? I got confused because 3 other things also were asked in my head right when you were talking that were the same audible level almost as what you said in real life versus my brain.
Yeah.
But like it's similar, and like I sometimes sit there going like, I feel like I'm making a fool out of myself because I, as an adult, am not being able to keep track of one question that was asked of me. I lost track of what you said between when you finished your answer and when I actually tried to answer it. The question when I.
Yeah.
great example right there. but yeah, so like I understand that, and like, but yeah, the ADHD does kind of double down on the depression as far as like being able to focus and concentrate on things.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, just as you guys were talking about the differences that you have because you also deal with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes me wonder how many other people who struggle with depression are dealing with something else as well, because like that can just make it so much more.
Yeah.
Like,
I do know it is common with people with epilepsy to be depressed.
Well, and that's the thing is, I feel like depression often comes as a second passenger on things. Like when you look at like pretty much anyone with ADHD, like depression is one of those, depression, anxiety, sleep issues, like not being able to go to sleep at night. Like those things are like things that get listed as side effects of ADHD. Is like, well, for I can speak for the ADHD of like ADHD, you're running scenarios all the time. Your brain doesn't stop. And so like those negative things, there's a lot more bad things that can foreseeably happen than good things.
Yeah.
And so when you're running scenarios every second on every single moment that goes by, the bad things stack up pretty quickly. And your brain goes, wow, there's a lot more negative input than positive input. And guess what? Negative chemicals come in, time to do your job, you know. And so like for that, that's where like the depression, like, and some people with ADHD, so ADHD, your brain's physically wired differently. Like there's an actual difference in your brain. With depression, chemical depression, it is also a not formed properly brain. Like it doesn't produce as much of the feel good chemicals. And ADHD, the receptors are built differently. But like with other things, and I'm not as familiar with like epilepsy, but like there's other things similar to that. Like when the brain's built different, the depression is oftentimes a side effect of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the point of me bringing that up was also just to remind everybody, all the quote unquote normal people out there, that what you're talking about, grace, having a little bit of extra grace, because you never know what people are dealing with on top of their depression or alongside of their depression.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we never know what people are truly dealing with, period.
Yeah.
Not just people who are dealing with depression, but like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
But like just making me more aware of the fact that people who deal with depression are probably also dealing with something else that just adds to it.
Yeah.
So just having that awareness.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point, and thank you for that, for making other people aware of that, because like I wouldn't have thought to bring that up myself. Like, because
neither of you are necessarily atypical for being a no, I can't phrase it that way. Try again, Rose. Like, neither of you are dealing with only depression.
Right.
So you're not necessarily the typical person dealing with depression.
Right.
Which I just, thought was interesting. But then I was thinking, well, maybe you are the typical people dealing with depression because people have other things going on.
I don't necessarily know statistics on this, but statistics,
schmish.
I mean, an audience, you can look this up for yourself and see if I'm close even, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like that there's like,
I feel like there's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I think it's like a pretty like there's a like 50-50 chance that if you're in depression, you're dealing with something else too. Like there's something else going on.
Well, I know a lot of people who are dealing with depression also deal with anxiety.
And
I know we didn't really talk about anxiety also.
Which list of topics.
But like that I know a lot of people who have both. Like they deal with anxiety and depression, and so it like kind of looks different for them because like their anxiety gets triggered, but because their anxiety gets triggered, they also get more depressed.
Yeah.
And so
so like I mean it's a good idea to think about, like, well, okay, if they're depression, are they dealing with other things that like are also contributing to them not quote unquote functioning as a normal human being should under these circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've had to explain that at work a few times of like, this is my 110% right now.
Yeah.
It's right now for you, this is about like 48%. But
your 48 is your 100 on those days.
Right. This is everything I've got and a little more than I actually have to offer right now. I'm going into energy debt to get to here.
Yeah.
You know, and like having some grace and understanding, like if they say they're trying their best, they're trying their best. Even if it doesn't look like their normal best on a good day.
Right.
You know, and like, yeah. So like understand that is I think very helpful.
Yeah.
So anything else that we haven't touched on enough that doesn't have to be its own podcast episode?
Right.
I had to quantify that a couple times because like there's a few things that we were like, no, that's way too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Jackie, thank you so much for being willing to come on and talk about this thing that, I mean, it's a lot of vulnerability, especially to unknown people.
Yeah.
But I think you've, on behalf of other people, depression and society, of just like helping educate people and helping people learn more about stuff. And Rose, thank you for being a normal population.
For once in my life.
And like,
thank you for having me on here. Like, this was fun. And I mean, like, as much fun as talking about
Yep, the most fun you can ever have talking about depression.
I think we did a pretty good job of keeping it pretty fun.
I think we did too. And I feel like we could dive more into it if we wanted to.
Yeah. And audience, listen, like if you want to hear more about this, let me know. Like, hey, do a part, whatever. I don't know how many episodes this is going to turn into exactly. We'll see. But like, do more. Find out more and like send questions and on what else you want to know about any of these topics that we've talked about. But like depression, like ask more questions and we can talk about more. But like I said, Rose, thank you for like coming in with that outsider perspective of like trying to understand and helping others understand that. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I hope people actually gained new insight and perspective from this.
That's kind of my hope on every episode of this. I kind of hope that's what I accomplished. So
I didn't mean to imply you didn't or haven't.
No, I just
okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that's my goal typically, and I appreciate that. As always, thank you so much to Milana Dodd for my wonderful cover art. She's an amazing graphic designer. You can check her out on her website, milanadodd.com, or on Instagram at Milana's Design. Amazing stuff out there. Go look at what December's doing on Instagram. I'm going to butcher this because I get her stuff wrong all the time, even though she's my wife. But you can find her photography on Instagram at December Noel photo. I told you, I always mess this up. It's terrible. I need to find a system.
December Noel photo.
December Noel photo. Is her Instagram. Her website is decembernoel.com. On Instagram, she's posting once a day, or as best she can. She's keeping that number up. But she's got amazing stuff over there. Braden Slens is going to be working on some new Zero Credits and Counting, where he talks to people that are not in roller coaster enthusiasts about the roller coasters that they like most. He's going to be putting out some more of those soon. I think that's everything. But yeah, if you like what you heard, please share it with somebody that would enjoy it. Thank you. I'm just going to sit here and die.
No.
I'm so sorry. So, we have some guests on this show that would also like to plug some things, and I almost brushed right over them. Don't worry, Jackie, I did not forget about you, and I just forgot to remember you.
Oh my god, that doesn't make it better.
It's like, this is bad.
That's my ADHD. I apologize.
Oh my god.
I just kind of got on my roll. So
Should you just start the end credits?
No, too late. No, too late. I am owning this one.
Are you gonna leave it like this?
Oh, 100%.
Oh my
it's just
God.
terrible. It's fine. It makes it interesting.
Oh my god.
So, Jackie. why I messed up her. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is why I link everything in the description below so they can just click on it and it goes to the right thing.
Oh my
No matter
God.
what you say.
Or no matter what I say, I can completely butcher, be like, hey, December's name's here, click it, hey, go to the website.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Jackie.
My gosh.
I have an Instagram at Elizabeth91 if you want to check that out.
Cool. So go follow her there. Rose, do you have anything you want to plug?
Not really. Like,
Cool.
if you want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. But I don't really.
Have
anything
social
good?
media.
I don't really do a
She
whole lot
has
on
it, she
it.
just doesn't post much or anything. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're good on
I think
that.
we're good.
Cool. Great. I'm gonna forget to sign off with something. So like I was saying before I remembered, I forgot something. A whole section of things. If you like what you heard or want to help educate and spread this information, please share this episode with somebody. If you like what you've been hearing on this channel, like, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe and just like left a review, like saying, hey, come check this thing out. I'd really appreciate that. You can always find me on Twitter at Joel Circo, on Instagram at CuriousJoelcast, or email me at curiousjoelcast@gmail.com. Send in your questions, send in comments, send in anything you would like. And as always, thank you all so much for listening. And I'll catch you all on the next episode.